All right.
To yourself today. See the house to yourself.
We are holding Daf Chav Beis Moed Aleph by the two dots. Anyways, Zokter Azoy. Before we go weiter, actually there was an interesting point. I opened up a sefer I saw somewhere, and there was an interesting thing. A sefer that writes Meforshim on Ein Yaakov. It's got a more models. Thank you. Ein Yaakov has all the stories, so this guy wrote a bunch of Meforshim on Ein Yaakov. Bring it more. So the kids, he writes a whole thing. And last week we had about that guy that had broke a foot, a broken arm, broke something, and when he got healed. Right? We said that if someone comes to someone and makes nichum avelim after the time is over, is it as if you have a broken foot, or a broken avel, and a broken bone, and he comes to you and says, "Look, I have a better way of healing it." So it
reopen the trauma.
Yeah. So he was explaining it that it is known, I guess medically it is known that when a bone, if it's properly placed and then it fuses together, it heals stronger than it was before. That's what the guy timed. It's true, not medically, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, you should know.
I don't break people. So it is not shaykh b'metzias to re-break a bone, I guess in those days, in the same spot. It's not shaykh b'metzias. So all this doctor is trying to do is trying to
test.
All this doctor is trying to do is show you as a kind. You're not gonna re-break and re-heal the same wound.
It's gonna be
I'm gonna break you a new place, and I'm gonna show you that with my salmon, with my I can make it heal better and faster. Not that because the Abish just said it. The Abish set it up already. That naturally a bone is gonna heal. Naturally, it's gonna heal stronger than But I'm gonna show you that nature takes a certain amount of time until it heals. If you don't do anything, if you don't do any intervention. I'm going to show you, I'm going to put ointments, I'm going to put this, I'm going to put that, and the healing, the process is going to be much faster and it's going to come out much better. That's what he was trying. That's not my point.
So it's a Malyusa for over here?
No, it's showing that he's going to hurt him more. He's not going to re-hurt the same place. Okay, he's now going to go open up a wound that already healed, that already covered up. But you're going to forget about that, and now we're going to go there and dig a new hole. But it's not going to really even open up the new one. It's going to break a whole. It's going to make a whole new trauma in today's world. Everything is about trauma.
So from therapy, but they're going gleich to a life coach.
You're going to
recording, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to send it to your brother. Okay, so Daf Chav Beis Moed Aleph. The Gemara on Daf Chav Aleph Moed Aleph was discussing if someone comes from was traveling and he comes to the city and he sees that his family is sitting Shiva. So it depends who it is and when he comes. If it's the oldest of the family, then he counts his own thing. If it's not the oldest of the family, so if the people are still Shiva within the first 3 days, then he sits Shiva and he continues with them. If it's after the 3 days, then he starts his own count of 7 days of Shiva, even though it's already 3-4 days after the person passed away. And that is only if he comes from a close by place. But if he comes from a far place, even if he comes within the first 3 days, he still does his own count. So that's a different shit. So the Shimon says something else. The Shimon says that even if it's from a close place, even if he comes on the 7th day, he counts like the brothers, the sisters that were sitting already for 7 days, and he just continues that day, and that's it. Obviously, the 7th day, we already know by now that the 7th day is not a full day. It's only a little bit. A little bit of the day is counted as a full day. So the Gemara says a very interesting thing. You know, like what's it called? The comedian once said that we're coming out from the Chagas. They are so lucky they don't have a Gemara. If the Goyim would have a Gemara, then it would be a whole discussion about the tree. How many candles light in the tree? Do you light from right and left? How tall it has to be? Gimel Tfachim, Lavud, all different things. And then it's nice and simple and easy. So here the Gemara comes in a very interesting question. Zok the Gemara there. Amar Abchia ba Gamda. Al-Bachia, the son of Gamda, said, Amar Yossi ben Shaul, Amar Rebbe, v'hu He comes on the seventh day. We know the seventh day is the day when they're going to get up. And they're not going to sit Shiva for long. So when is he coming? He has to come in that small window when there are still people in the house that are doing Nichem Avelim, that are coming to console him. Because if there's no one there anymore, if they got up, he has to start a whole Shiva, because then it's going to be a Shmuel Kedoiva, then he has to start sitting the whole thing again. But basically, if someone is still sitting there, then he continues sitting with them, only for a short time. He closes the Shiva and he's done. Zadig going of Onon, and here is this going of Onon, Nina Ulamit. If you saw them moving, about to get up to leave the house, but it didn't get up yet. Veloy Amdu didn't get up. So what is it? Did they get up or not get up? So Azar Shaila is only in Gemara. It either happens or not happens. If you have a Gemara, we are going to discuss every detail. You need the possibility if someone is about to get up and the guy walks in and they're like, okay, sit back down, settle back down. So in that case, when he came, when they were about to get up and everything was supposed to be over, what's then? We don't know. Mahu Teiko, Mashiach is going to come, Elio is going to give us that answer. Okay. So the Gemara weiter.
Mamish the Nudnik.
I'm saying like this.
Shmiel Shlomazel and the Nudnik. No, what is it?
Yeah.
Shmiel Shlomazel. The Nudnik comes in like.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. Like, this is the Gemara. Like how many Tfachim does this tree of Tabit? Is it the Chassan Ish? Is it Chayna? It's like here is Kamas Zitz and but this is the Gemara, because the Gemara is going to discuss. Today there was a gem video going around, but Machshakim Tevani, Talmud Babel is one that you go deep, because we're going to discuss every possibility. Everything is miyusad and Torah. Everything, even the ones that we don't know, it's ad kere kach miyusad and Torah. Zati Gemara weiter. Gemir Chavei Rab Abba Bachia. The Chaveirim of Rab Abba Bachia learned from Rab Abba, and who is his friend? Aman Rab Zera. Va'amel Chavei Rab Zera. Rab Zera, the friend of Rab Zera, learned from Rab Zera. And who was his friend? Who was Zera's friend? Amani, it was Rab Abba. Okay, so either way, it was one of them. Abba, it was Rab Abba B'red Rab Chia Bar Abba. What's the gelernt? Amar Bechanan. You learned the name of Bechanan. Loch Rab Shimon ben Gamliel b'Treifos. Loch is like Hashem ben Gamliel when it comes to Treifos, and we'll discuss in a moment what that is. But Loch Rab Shimon be'Oven, and Loch is like Rab Shimon here when it comes to Avelus. That if a guy shows up on the seventh day before people get up from Shiva, he continues sitting just that 1 hour, the half an hour, the 5 minutes, and he's done. Zadi Gemara. That's what we just said before on the page before. What's the loch of Shim Meal B'Treifos? The Tanan, it says over there in Treifos and Chulen b'nei Ma'ayin Shnikvu. If a animal has a hole in its intestines, v'leicha seitamtam, and there's a gooey type of liquid from the b'nei Ma'ayin, from the intestines, that is so thick and it clogs the hole. That animal, when you shecht and you find the hole, but you see that it's closed because it's clogged by its own gooey thingy, it's ksheda. The animal is kosher, you can eat it. Divrei Rab Shimon Gamliel. What kind of lecha is it we're talking about? This is a something that the intestines produce. It's very thick, and the only way to get it out is the nafik agav duchaka. If you squeeze it really hard, that's when it comes out, and it's basically thick enough that it's not liquidy and it flows, but it comes to the hole and it clogs the hole. So according to this Gemara, But Shimon Gamliel made an animal that has a hole that if without that lecha the animal would eventually die, would be considered a treifa and it would not be allowed to eat it and shecht it. And Shimon Gamliel said, if you shecht it behem and you find it and you find the hole clogged and everything is good, it's a kosher behem, you can eat it. Mandahu, some guy, we don't know his name. He said like this: Iski, I want to be zoiche ve'esak, and I'm going to go up to Tzol ve'agmer l'shmaitis and pum demoy, and I want to hear that. I want to hear Rab Abba, Rab Zera, whoever said this thing. I want to hear him. Tell me this halacha. Kisolik. Eventually, this younger man, we don't know who this guy is. He went at Tzol. Ashkechei Rab Abba, Rab Chia Bar Abba. He found Rab Abba, and he asked him, Amalei, Omar, did the master say halacha b'Shimon Gamliel b'Treifos? Did you say that? Amalei, he said no. It was broken telephone until bubble. No, ain't halacha me. I said halacha is not Rab Shimon Gamliel. But even though Rab Shimon Gamliel says that it's kosher, I disagree, and I said no, the halacha is not like him. Fragt him weiter, he asks him, okay, but there's a second part in the Brisa, Reb Shimon be'avel mai. Do you agree though with Reb Shimon be'avel? Amalei, so I told him, pluktan, it's a machloikas, whether we go with Reb Shimon Gamliel when someone shows up late at the Avelis, if he joins his family, or he does his own count. The Itma Rav Chizda Malacha. Rav Chizda says Allah is like Reb Shimon that he joins with the family. V'chein Rav Yochanan also said that. Halacha, that Allah is Reb Shimon. Rabbi Nachman Amar, ein halacha. Rabbi Nachman said the halacha is not like Reb Shimon. At the end of the day, we have to go according to Reb Shimon. That if someone shows up in that time frame, he does not sit shiva. He sits shiva with the family.
He does sit with the family.
He doesn't do his own count. The Gemara brings the maskana. The ein halacha Reb Shimon Reb Shimon bring Gamliel b'teifes. We take do not go halacha Reb Shimon halacha Reb Shimon aval and halacha Reb Shimon be'aval. Dama Shmuel halacha kedive hamekel be'aval. Shmuel said already a few pages ago that when it comes to avelos, we are mekel. Okay, a new Gemara. The Gemara discusses when to make. The Gemara in the next page is going to discuss a lot of things. The difference between sitting shiva for a parent versus sitting shiva for a sibling or a child or a spouse. Parent is always going to be more strict, and the other 5 relatives, brother, sister, son, daughter, and spouse, is going to be on a lesser level. And the Gemara is going to that's what the Gemara is going to discuss. I'll call them Mason Kulan, not only shiva, but many different halachas. I'll call them Mason Kulan, all the relatives that pass away. I mean the other 5, the brother, sister, son, daughter, spouse. Matche mitase, you push the bed out. Basically, you push the entire process. Let's hurry up. Let's finish it up. And hayez meshubach, you push, make it faster because it's a covered mess. When it comes to love vel imoim, hayez meguna. It actually does not look good if you push to bury your father and your mother, because you want to be more covered, and that's why we also have that we can wait for people to come if they're overseas. But if the parent passed away out of Shabbos Erev Yantif, so if now you're going to push it off, they're going to sit there pushing off also. You can't push it off forever. Push it off a little while until you but if you know till you get it done. But if you know that a Shabbos comes or a Yantif comes or in Agosabach adds, it's going to start raining, and then they didn't have how to preserve the body. It's going to start raining. It's going to get moldy. It's going to get musty. Then it's not a covet, and therefore it's a bigger covet to go bury right away. Then it's good to bury right away. The whole thing is only doing the covet in the honor of his father and his mother, and so therefore you go and you do it right away. That's one difference. All the other people that pass away, if he wants to reduce his asek, his business, he can reduce and not do it until he buries. But if he doesn't have to reduce. Again, here we discussed in the past that an avla is not to do any work. That's physical labor. According to this Gemara, it's physical labor. But here we're talking about just general asek, business dealings. You want to close up some business dealings. According to this Gemara, for the 5 other people that he have, relatives, they have to sit shiva on. You could, you could not. It's your choice. For a parent, you have to show much more mourning, and you cannot do anything. In the olden days, there was a little. It seems like they did kriya, which we're going to see soon, a little bit different than nowadays. I don't want to show myself, but in nowadays you cut a little bit with a scissor or with a certain knife, and then you hold on and you rip, right? That's you hold on and you give a dice. It seems like, first of all, the garments in the olden days were different. We have shirts, we have suits. It's a very different way. We put it on like this. In those days, everything was. If you look at the way the Eastern people walk around, it's more like a long robe. It's like a long T-shirt. There's no like buttons right, left. It's a long T-shirt. Then you have to put your hands in the right hand and in the left hand the second. But basically, it looks like a very different garment. So over there, the ripping the garment is not like you're taking from a seam of a shirt and you cutting it. You have to cut like where's the seam is by the collar. So they would make a little cut. And there's 2 ways of cutting it. And what they would do is they would then stick their hand 2 pshatim. One of them says after they would cut, they want to show everyone I'm an oval. So they would take off one sleeve push. They would choilets. They would expose one. Yeah. And the other people would stick their hand through the hole and basically it would look weird. It would stick out. It would stick out. So back in those days, it said that you do it clear, but after you do it clear, you don't have to do this chalitza. You don't have to rip off the garment or expose the shoulder or whatever it was. But for parents, just to point out that when they say choilet, this is not done during Shiva. This was done when he did clear until the body is buried. After the body was buried, that's what the Meforshim say. Then you would put back. You wouldn't keep it. You keep your shoulder exposed or your hand through. You would put it back. However, bisman hazeh, the Rama says bisman hazeh, we don't do it. And the Aruch explains. And the Shulchan Aruch explains why bisman hazeh, because our clothing is different and it's not the same way. Basically, their clothing was different, so that's why they were able to do it. For us, it would look pashut weird. Zot Gemara weiter. Omaise begadol. There was a story with a gadol hadoil. There was one gadol shemeis of his father passed away. Bikash lachlet says for your father you have to do it. So he wanted to expose his shoulder. Ubikash gadol adoish achash sheimoy. There was another gadol that was with him. He also, because the other gadol was sitting there and he was sitting Shiva, out of reverence to the other gadol, he said, his father passed away. It's like my father passed away. I'm also going to expose my shoulder. V'nimna, so the first gadol that actually needs to do it, he did not expose. V'loy chalatz. Doisa says this is not a story to come against what we just said. We just said that for a father and a mother, you have to expose the shoulder. In this story, we see that the guy didn't do it. This story doesn't show that. This story shows that we have to do it. The only reason I didn't do it because the other guy was such a gadol ador that was pushed, not covered for him to walk around like this. So the covet of another gadol is more important than doing this. So the Gemara is going to discuss.
Also, right, you could have two gadol adors at the same time.
Oh yeah, but one was hataki bigger. We're going to see now which one was bigger. It was one gadol ador and there's a gadol she'imoy. It was with him, so one is bigger. So what was going on? I know it sounds like a story where who's the gadol, who was the gadol? So Abaya, gadol ador, who was the gadol that was sitting Shiva for his father? Rebbe. Who was Rebbe's father? Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Right? Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, I think, was his father. Yeah, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel was his father. Gemara's going to say, and Reb Shimon was a Nasi. Who was the gadol she'imoi? Gadol she'imoi, Rabbi Yaakov Acha. Rabbi Yaakov Acha. There is a name of Rabbi Yaakov Acha and a Moed, and there's a name of Rabbi Yaakov Acha and a Tana. This obviously talking about a Tana. Rebbe was before Rabbi Yaakov Acha. That was older than Rabbi Yaakov Acha. Rabbi Yaakov Acha was the 5th generation of Tanoim. That was the 4th generation of Tanoim. So that was older than him, and he was obviously also the son of a Nasi, and he was a Nasi himself, was the Bida Nasi, so it was a much greater. So the Gemara says this. Abaya says that the one that was sitting Shiva for his father is Rebbe. The other gadol is Rabbi Yaakov Acha. Rabbi Yaakov Acha wanted to expose his shoulder. Rebbe said, no, I'm not doing it. Some other people say, gadol ador is Rabbi Yaakov Acha. Rabbi Yaakov Acha was sitting Shiva for his father, and gadol ador she'imoy is Rebbe. And gadol she'imoy was his father. It was with him was Rebbe. Rebbe said, older than Rabbi Yaakov Acha. Came to Rabbi Yaakov Acha says, oh, your father passed away. I'm going to expose my shoulder as well. So Rabbi Yaakov Acha said, no, I'm not going to do that. It's not coveting that the Rebbe should do that. It's Bishlem the one that says that the one that was not sitting Shiva, the one that joined him and wanted to join with the Spain is Rebbe Hainu the Nimna. That makes sense that he held back. Rebbe was older than Rabbi Acha. He was one of greater from the an earlier generation than him. The Limna that's why Rabbi Acha himself didn't do it. El Mandam Rabbi Acha. The Mandam that said Rabbi Yaakov was the one that joined Rebbe. Rabbi Acha was younger than him. Why didn't Rabbi Yaakov Acha actually do a chalitza? Rebbe's father that passed away was a Nasi, and for a Nasi, everyone has to be chalitz. That's what. Everyone has to have a chiyuv to be chalitz. It's like the Gemara Kasha. So it's not a shver according to this Mandam that says that Rabbi Yaakov Acha was showed his what's a respect to the Rebbe, but the question is why did he tell the Rebbe, no, I'm gonna do it, not gonna. He had to do it no matter what. He had to be choylet, and therefore the choylet makes more sense that the Rebbe was sitting shiva for his father. Sorry, it makes more sense that Rabbi Yaakov Acha was sitting shiva for his father. The Rebbe came and said, I'm gonna, out of reverence to your father, I'm also gonna expose my shoulder. And Rabbi Yaakov Acha said for Rebbe, no, let's not do it because it's not the covet for you to do that. So the Gemara weiter. Now we're going to talk about haircuts. After all relatives that pass away, again we're talking about, when it says all, we're talking about the 5 relatives, to brother, sister, son, daughter, and spouse. After 30 days, you take a haircut. Until his friends do a guy do scream at him, tell him that it doesn't look good. Now, what is Ashigo B'Chavedov? So it doesn't say the amount. It says when they were screaming. So in halacha, the Lamah brings down, but the shiur of screaming is 3 months. Basically, and I remember seeing it, I couldn't find it again this time. I remember seeing from the Sfada Shegoinim that they would have a minhag that after a month, because a month is minimum, everyone has to cannot cut it. Shloshim, you cannot cut yet. But after a month, they would go and would scream at him even if he was bald, you know what I'm saying? And the guy would take a haircut. But in the Ashkenazic Kehillah, actually it says, the Moed from Ashkenaz, it says at least 3 Chodashim. Now we're going to ask you a question. We know some people, 12 months. So I always thought that's some shigas. So the Mahadil actually writes that there's a minhag in some places for 12 months. That the guy there is 12 months. The guy's with, what's it called? And kach. What's it?
What?
Locally.
You go to Chaveira for 12 months?
That the amount of, we don't know how long. Is there
So try that from after 12 months. Missed
Saying,
an opportunity.
Yeah.
it's
Could have screamed at him for 12 months.
12 months straight, and he doesn't know what's it called. But technically, technically, I'm gonna have to edit this whole thing. Technically, as soon as someone tells him off, yes, you have to take a haircut. But the Malil says that there is a thing called that 12 months could be for parents, not for what's for parents. It says you can do 12 months, and it's mashma that even if someone says this is, for me, this is my way of dealing with it. So from now on, we know that we can't knock it down. This is a okay.
Is there something that the Rebbe was 12 months? The Rebbe after Rebbe Tzachana was 12
I know the Rebbe had very long hair many times. I don't know. I'm not booking this. If you look at them ches, what's it called? You've seen the videos. Yeah, but it's a long hair for a long time. Okay. Zog the Gemara weiter. Al kol hameisen kulo nichnas lebeis hasimcha. For all the other relatives that pass away, you can go into a base, a simcha, in the house of happiness. So, period. After 30 days, you can go by simcha. What is this base of simcha? It's a house of happiness. What are we talking about? Is it a simcha like a bliss, a wedding or stuff like that? So, we're talking about as simchas mereos. Back in the day, they had this concept where, like Nasi explains in the Meforshim explained, that this concept where people would make a rotation and they would invite each other, friends, a group of friends, in order to, break bread, as what's it called, to make their friendship better. They would take rotations and they would commit to hosting people at different times. Yeah, so basically take 12 friends, 12 months, 1 month, each month, someone else to do a Malav Malka. That's the Simchas Medeus. So now, Sabavacha says, what are we talking about? That after 30 days of a relative, you can go into Simchas Medeus. No, so Abba 1 second. According to this shit, is like this, that after 30 days, you can go continue the Simchas Medeus with your friends. If it's a what's it called? If it's a one of the 5 relatives. If it's a parent, you have to wait 12 months to go to this kind of party. Meisvei, helping effect. We see in Abraisa that over there it actually differentiates that you cannot go into Beis Simcha for 30 days for a relative and 12 months for a father and mother. And what does it say? Ule Simcha, Ule Medeus. It separates both for Simcha and Medeus. Lamed Yoim. That for a relative you cannot join such a party for 30 days. Not and basically not for Simcha, because according to the Abba Bachana, he would make it sound that for such a party, 2 ways to learn it actually. To such a party, after 30 days of a relative, you can join, but any other party, wedding, this bar mitzvah, you can join. According to another shit that says no, it's more mekel. This party after 30 days you can join, but the simcha of a relative you can even join earlier. So basically, 2 ways of learning it. But the way he's learning it, he's adding that the simcha we're talking about is this type of simcha, joining friends and sitting down. And so the Gemara is asking, we see in another Braisa that differentiates. It says Simcha and Mereus, that has two categories, that both of them, sitting Shiur for a relative, one of the 5 relatives, you cannot join any of them until after 30 days. And for a parent, you cannot join until 12 months are over. So we see it's the same thing. So why is the Bava B'chana coming and putting a Nekuda or Simcha Mereus? It doesn't make a difference. So now we're going to go back. Again, we said for 30 days you can go on Beis Simcha. 12 months, after 12 months you can join. If a parent passed away, it takes 12 months. This is what Rabbi Chana said. What kind of Beis Simcha we're talking about? Ule Simchas Mereus mutar likones le'alta. You're sitting, what?
Right now, what does Lalta mean?
Lalta means right away. Lalta, the Tshuva, Lalta, Gula, right away. You can join such a party. When it comes to a simcha, a wedding, a mitzvah, a simcha where there's what's simcha b'ma'oinoi, they can't, because that's taking away from your avelos. But you'll be Masich, takes away the avelos. You can't do that. But simcha medeus is not as big of a simcha. Therefore, right away, you can do it. So the Gemara doesn't make sense. Again, we said in the Braisa that for Medeus also you have to wait 30 days. It's like this. They have a meeting and they decide, we have a bunch of friends, we are committing to go eat in each other's homes or whatever, a party, inviting somewhere for a certain period. Every week or every month, whatever period of time, someone else's turn. So they're all committed. It's a commitment that you can't break. And so basically it's like this. Huh? Yeah, so yeah. That's what I'm saying, breaking bread. Breaking bread is actually a Goisha term. It's really, but it says that they had such things back in those days. They had such things, and it comes to a chilig and halacha. When they make this thing, what happens if someone passes away as they make this commitment? So if it's his turn to hold, if he says, I'm going to be the first, and boom, someone passes away, he cannot host it. Okay? What if his turn is like later turns? Everyone was hosting already. Now it's my turn to host. Now it's my turn and someone passes away. So we'll tell you that if after 30 days you can join, you can make your party, and after for parents it's 12 months. But basically, because paying back such a thing is very important. You cannot break that tradition. So Dr. Gemara, when they're making up, they're committing to each other. So then, if it's just a commitment, he cannot hold the party. Then, if it's talking about paying it back, is la'alta, he can do it right away. You can do it right away. He actually doesn't have to wait until because also it's not as big of a simcha like a chasana. The tois is on the side of the simcha meis. The tois is on the bottom here. Pirush Rabbi B'Shem Rabbeinu Shimshon. He says a very interesting point, which we don't hold today. I don't know if you guys see the simcha meis. There's a bunch of highlighted things. The Pirush Rabbi B'Shem Rabbeinu Shimshon. The Sudas mitzvah mutar lekanes. You're allowed to.
Mila, it says, no?
Sudas Mila. Thank you. Sudas Mila mutar lekanes. But this Mila you can go. Why? The Leichashiva simcha. It's not considered simcha doing perkam the ksubas the leimevarchinen basha simcha oinoi. We don't say simcha oinoi. Why don't we say simcha oinoi? Because actually there's a kid that's suffering, right? I think that's the reason why we don't say simcha oinoi. But according to this, his shita, he says you're allowed to go bismillah. At the end of the day, today we don't say that. And if someone is an oval, if he goes to a bris, he has to actually be serving, and that's what the place is saying later on. That you have to be serving, and then the place goes saying that if you go just to say mazel and don't eat, you can also do back and forth.
What does the 3D mean? It says Mishum the 3D v'leka simcha.
They're occupied. They're occupied with something. The Tilis here is more also the baby, the bleeding. Okay, Zag the Gemara weiter back in the Gemara. Now we're gonna go into Kriya. Zag the Gemara.
La halacha.
La halacha we don't.
Can't go to this.
We can't go to this, and if you do,
What if it's your own bris? What if it's your son's bris?
yeah, that's or supersedes. That's what's go.
It's
Yeah, that's really
Oh,
it.
I see.
But lalacha we don't, and if someone does, there's a loophole because we always have loopholes. The loophole is that you serve. That's halacha. If you see someone, all of a sudden you see a guy with a long white beard, can I give you a cheesecake? Say yes, because you know the guy. Some people will leave. What's it called? But
Zionist to be part of Sodas Mitzvah, and then he left.
Okay.
Alright.
So some people go and they basically go around serving. If it's a servant, it's like, okay, it's my job kind of thing. So yeah. Zad the Gemara weiter. I'll call a mason kul mafilu. Sorry. I'll call a mason kul on korea tefach. On all relatives, you have to rent your garment at least a tefach. Alav ve'imoy achigal liboy. You have to rip until you reveal your heart, you reveal your chest. Which pasuk do we have that you have to rip a tefach? Because it says in pasuk, David held on when he heard the shmur that someone passed away. He held on to his garment. And he ripped it. An average person's palm is a little bit the size of a tefach, more or less. When you rip, you're holding on the whole thing. You hold a full fist. That's a tefach. So from here we see that the kli has to be at least a tefach. But for a parent, it has to be achagal liboy. I looked to find what the source is. If there's a source of pasuk, I could not find it. And but this is what we have. I'll call him in kulon. Sorry. I'll call him in kulon afilu lavush asar chalukim el elyoin. For any other relative, you only rip the outer garment. If you have 10 garments, you only rip the outer one. Kulon has to go all the way until your megalis liboim. Now comes the
So that
kafir.
means a jacket wouldn't be okay for an Avim Nimoy. Well, this is speaking
You
about
for Avim Nimoy, you go through jacket, shirt, undershirt, tzitzis, whatever you need to go until megalis liboim.
Is that how we do it today?
Yeah. You ever go into a house, someone's sitting available, you'll see that the shirt is ripped, the jacket is ripped until it's your worship. If it's a sibling,
Jacket and shirt I've seen.
I don't know if the undershirt, because most people their undershirts are what's it called. I don't think you have to go ad kedekach, but
Halachadik already, you're saying.
yeah. The Nan Mitzvah sells ripped the shirts already.
You said it Taos Katan? No.
If it covers, today Talskad they're
You're talking about where
open.
your heart is, so obviously Taos Katan is coming
Yeah,
out.
so it's not really the heart. It's more the chest area. What's it called? They're not. Aliyah means revealing the flesh, and it's all. That whole thing is to show that there's a greater mourning for a parent. Like in the beginning of the mother, we said that you reveal your shoulder. Zadig mother weiter. Oh, kafia. What is a kafia? Kafia is a dirty rag. You have it right here. Kafia is a dirty rag. It's called in Lashon HaGemara. It's called apirkasusai, apirkasus or whatever, apirkasusai. And what was the idea of that kafia? Why did they wear it? They Pashto explained they wore it to catch the sweat. It was set, and if you look it up, it'll have it on Wikipedia also. Yeah. It says kafia was something that they wore in those places. It's sandy, it's dusty, it's hot, to catch the sweat. Givan the Palestinian symbol. But it's really, as I said, that the
that white checkered, the checkered thing is kafia.
it's called the kafia. Yeah, is that kafia?
Oh, what the fasting? Why it's all the black and white checkered?
It's actually the Palestinian is red and white, and actually black and white. I don't know. Anyways, in Bes Yosef lived in the Arab countries, lived in west of Kala, and he explains this application. So he teaches that in Lashon we call it kafa, which is kafia, because the whole kafia is an Italian word. I forgot the word, but basically because that's the kafia. The kafia was something that they wore, a shawl, to catch the sand, dust, and sweat. And basically, it wasn't a garment that you wore; it's an overgarment that you just to cover up. So what is the Gemara saying? That basically, when you are ripping garments, you don't have to rip the kafia. It's not considered. It's considered a rag. It's nothing. It's a shmutz. You don't. It's not considered of importance for you to rip it. So the Gemara, everything that we said above about kriya, echad ish ve'echad isha, that saya man and saya woman have to rent the garments. However, when it comes to Megala Liboy, there's an in of tznius. So Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar explains, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Ayman, ha'isha keraz tachtoin, you first rip the undergarment, umachzira, say, and then when it comes to a parent, then she puts it back, she puts it back, v'chezez v'krasel, and then she also rips. So basically, she puts it back to cover up, and then she rips it out. She taka rips it all the way, but it's done in a way that she covers up and it's not seen. And that's how the taka do it today, and they pin it or something. I believe so. Okay, so that's the apikosis, that's the kafir, that's the Indian of kriya. Al kol ha'mesin kulon. Al kol ha'mesin kulon. Rotza mavdil kamesofa shlo rotza eri mavdil. So remember I said that they wore different garments. And the garment had basically one big neck hole. That's what they wore. It was like a long t-shirt. And over there is basically you cut through the hem of the t-shirt, the seam on the top of the t-shirt, so you can either widen, you just make the hole bigger and it doesn't look like a full rip, a full rent of the garment, or you push it, go through and it looks like two pieces. So you can either make it in a way that it looks just a wider neck hole, or it looks like it's two pieces. If you want to show that it's two mavdil kamesofi, you push it, cuts through the entire seam. He could do if he wants to or not. You have to show that he went through. Abida says, that if you do clear and it's not, even for a relative, and you don't go through the seam, it's not considered a clear, it's nothing, it's a waste of time. It's clear shel tiflos. What's the reason of Rabbi Yehuda? The Ksiv, that when David the Melech did it, or when someone did it, he actually held it in two hands. He held it, and ripped it in two. So it has to be Shneim Koim in two. The pasuk says he ripped it in two Kodoim. When you say ripped, that means automatically it's ripped in two. The pasuk is telling you that it was ripped in two because you were able to visibly see that it's so. Not only that you widened the neck hole, but it actually was visible that you ripped it in two pieces. On all the other relatives that pass away after the Shiva, you can be shoylel. What's shoylel? The Nasi says a French word, and it basically means making very thick stitches, very wide, grabe, very amateur stitching if you need to stitch the clothing back. We don't have to do it today. Baruch Hashem, we have enough clothing, but back in those days when they didn't have, so they wanted to fix it. After Shiva, they were only able to do a very good, a very wide way of stitching. And after 30 days, they can fine stitch. After 30 days, he can do a more thick, more amateur stitching. But he can never fix it back to the way it was. The Isha can right away put it back because it's not covered for her to go around in a rough garment, and I think that's why we have a lot of times the thing today that they actually pin the clear the ripped garment back together. Also, when Rav came that saw in the second name of Yochanan, I'll call a mason rotza kriya b'yad, rotza kriya b'kli, and any of the if relatives, if you want to rip it with your hand, you can do it. You want to rip it with a scissor, with a knife, you can do it. Alav imoy b'yad, have to do it by hand. Today we actually use a knife. They start, but it's the Indian to do a knife. Then have a chance to look into, but it's Indian to do a knife, right? You start with a knife, and then you
a razor,
and then you tell the guy hold on, and then the guy rips and then makes the blow. Amar Rab Chia ba'ava, Amar Rab Yochanan. Rab Chia ba'ava said in Rab Yochanan, "Kol meisen kulan mibifnim." All the meisim is from the inside. 1 second, what does inside mean? Wait a second. Al av imakrem b'chutz. Father and mother is from b'chutz. Zogt Aradashi here. It's about I don't know, it's 15 lines from the bottom. Kadem b'fnim. Rashi. So for all the other that tachas hamikton shelo, under the overgarment is where you rip your garments. You don't have to rip the outer garment for everyone, but for a parent you have to rip the outer garment.
I mean, everyone has to see by a parent.
Yeah.
Not by a
If that's the way we learn this, then it's a little bit of a problem. What we learned before, that before we said that if someone wears 10 garments, you only rip the outer garment for someone, not the inner garments. And here it says you have to rip the inner garments. So the truth is, if you look in Rashi Ksav Yoshin, Rashi Ksav Yoshin, 3 lines all the way from the bottom of the page. Mibifnim, Zot Rashi, Bechaydan, inside a room. So for a relative, for one of the 5 relatives, you rip it inside a room. You don't have to show everyone that you are mourning. But for a parent, but for a parent, you have to go outside in front of everyone. Turn on. So, what are we talking about? What's the true tight here? So the Ritva here says that it is mashma. So it says 2 things. The Ritva says, if you want to say ripping garment means inside in an inner room, then you would write bifnim, not mi bifnim. Bifnim means inside a room. Mi bifnim is from inside. Mi is from, bifnim inside. So that would mean a garment. Mi bifnim means from inside going on the garment. If it's just bifnim, then it means in a room. So the Ritva says technically the way Rashi learns it, the way we have it in this Rashi, not the Ksav Yashin, is more correct. Bifnim is inside a room. Mi bifnim is from inside. It means a garment. But the Ritva says actually it doesn't make sense also to say that it's the inside the inner garment. It says because the Gemara is going to say a story in a moment. We're going to read the story, and the Gemara is bringing a story about a Nasi. The Nasi passed away, and someone told his father-in-law, stand up on top and rip your garments in front of everyone. And this is a story, proof of what we just said. So Mistama Adaya, that Bifnim and Bechutz goes on the location and not the garment. That's how we let's see the story. Amar Rav Chizda, the Chayla Nasi. Nasi also, when you rip your garments, you have to do it like a parent. Meisvei, so we learned in our Braise, Lo Yehushal Avil Imoy, when we said that Nasi is like a father and a mother, it's only what? That a Nasi, the same way for a father and mother, you cannot find stitch the garment back together. Also, a Nasi cannot find stitch. But anything else, a Nasi is not like a parent. And here you say that Nasi also you have to rip the garment outside. My love, I feel a Nasi. That even Ichu means fixing, fine stitching the garment back together. That a Nasi also, that even a Nasi, the only thing that you do by a Nasi that's like a parent is not putting the garment back together, but ripping inside outside. No, by Nasi we don't do that. And for the Gemara, no, levami Nasi. A Nasi is different. A Nasi is like a parent, and actually a Nasi is even more than a parent. You will see soon. A Nasi is even the availus of a Nasi is even greater than the parent. That a Nasi also you have to do outside. Zod the Gemara story. Nasi shchiv, and Nasi passed away. The Nasi of the time of Chizda was Malukva. As it comes dois, Malukva was the Shagoyla then. That's the Nasi then. Amale of Chizda le Avchanan Ba'aba. Rav Chizda was married to the daughter of the Avchanan Ba'aba. So he turns into his father-in-law, and he tells him Avchanan Ba'aba was married to the daughter of Rav. So Rav Chizda's wife's grandfather was Rav. Anyways, Rav Chizda turns to the Avchanan Ba'aba, and he turns to him and says, the Nasi passed away. Kofi asisa, turn over asisa, the stone, the grinding stone. Vekumalo, stand on top. Ve'achve kriya la'alma, and go outside and rip kriya la'alma that the entire world should see. So here we see that when we're talking about ripping kriya inside or outside, it doesn't go on the garment, it goes in the location. That when you have a father or a mother or a Nasi, the garment has to be ripped so everyone sees that there's a veilus here. And here we see the Gemara is now going to go into showing a little bit difference in a Nasi, a Talmud Chacham. We also have to do clear for them, and there's a little bit differences. Al Chacham, if it's a Chacham in a shul, choylet miyamin, you basically do chalitza. The clear you reveal your right shoulder. Al Av Bezdin, that's already from a city, mismoil. Al Nasi, if it's a Nasi, mikana mekan. Tana Rabbanan, Chacham shemeis, if a Chacham in a shul dies, beis midlashoy, bottle that only his shul sits shiva and in avelus. Av Bezdin shemeis, kol batem midrasha should be betelin. All the batem midrashas do not learn Torah because it's a bigger avelus. Huh? In the city should be yeah. Should be betelin. V'nichnasen beis hakneses, and they go into shul. Umeshanen es mekoymun, and they cannot sit in the regular spot. They're davening. Hayoshim betzafen, yoshim bedadim. Those who sit in tzafin in the south sit in the north. Those in the north sit in the south. They change spots. To show that we're not in a regular state of affairs. Nasi shemeis, if a Nasi dies, but the midrashas kulam betelin, like the Av Bezdin. Ubnei hakneses nichnosen beis hakneses. The people that go to shul, the only time they go to shul is on a day that Kohen Shiva, the day that you read 7 aliyahs. Basically, the Nasi, they sit Shiva during Shabbos. And in Shabbos, they make up a time. When I show up in shul at a certain time, we're going to read Kriya, and right away, V'yoitzin, they go away.
So even Yom Tov they wouldn't? Because Yom Tov is not 7 aliyahs?
I guess not. Because Yom Tov is also technically the bottle of the whole thing is bottle in Yom Tov. If Shabbos, we said before, Shabbos is mina minyan, it's part of the shiva, but we don't sit shiva. By Yom Tov, there's never mina minyan. So Shabbos, when a Nasi passed away, it's so what's it called? It's such a deep mourning that even Shabbos to sit and mourn. All the shuls are closed for a week. The only reason why they do go lane is because there's anxiety. We don't want to be mevatel a shul more than a week, so they come together and read shiva. But davening itself, they go to daven by the Nasi, or they each daven quietly, be yechidus at home.
So there's no kaddish. The people say if somebody else is saying kaddish.
Yeah, you work it out, make a quiet minyan, but it's basically the whole country is in the morning.
We don't have a Nasi today. I mean,
We have.
no, I'm talking about in this.
That for sure you have to edit.
Yeah.
The machana girl voice note through the AI make it machana.
in this sense of the word.
Yeah. But what Gimel Tammuz, people did
everyone
Brit Kriya,
was-
the Brit Kriya all the way.
Yeah.
All the way. The Sat Shiva, and once ago there was a whole week. And Shabbos was Eichad, yeah, Shabbos, I wasn't here, but I can imagine Shabbos was like not there. What it means to go out? They should go out and have a party? They should go out and walk around. They go outside, and they're quiet, they're sitting there, they're in Avelos. And at that time when the Nasi passes away, you don't sit in shul and darshan certain things that will make you happy, like Shmuas and Agadas stories of the Gemara. When it came to a Nasi, he did say the Shmuas of Agadas, because he held that even though the Nasi is sitting Shiva, not mamish in the Beis Ha'avel, but you could still do certain things. You can totally knock down learning and not learn at all. Just to finish this over here. Again, we're talking here, there's two ways of learning it. The way we're going to learn it is that we're still talking about the Nasi passing away. The process of getting out of Shiva and Avelos is very different than a parent. Talking about Avel. If it's an Avel, it's for a Nasi. Shabbos is shown in the first week. No one goes out of the house. Shnia, it's the second week. Second week, not Shabbos, we're talking about second week. Yoitze, you can go out. But when it comes to shul, Mukayim doesn't sit in his regular spot. And Agosabach adds ve'enim edaber, you don't speak in shul, only that week. Shlishis, on the third week, Yoshev Mikoimo, you can sit in your regular spot in shul. Ve'enim edaber, you still don't speak. The V is in the fourth week. We kind of shikuman in shul and sitzen in bulb in the bed and the ganzen davening. Not really, no. You can't do a speak in the middle of davening, but it's apparently it was a besmedish and they were able to speak at some point. I guess maybe by the Kiddush. Rabbi disagrees. We don't have to say the first Shabbos because we already said before that when the first Shabbos they don't even go to shul to lane. They only start don't go to shul down and only go to lane. So we don't have to say the first Shabbos is in Avelos. Everyone goes to the Nasi to the Nasi's house now in Lachway. The second week, and you don't. The second week, you don't go out from your house, so you're sitting shiva much longer. It's not only 7; it's much longer than 7. Shlish is yoytze and the third week, you don't. When you go out, you don't sit in the regular spot in the shul, and you cannot speak to other people. The still don't speak. Chamesh is like on the 5th week. Go and daven and zed and shmuz and everything is good.
What is it? What is that last part?
Shkoya.
Last part is that